The growing tensions between the United States and Iran have sparked fears of a potential military conflict. Signs indicate that both nations are preparing for a major confrontation with military buildups, strikes, economic sanctions, shows of military force, and diplomatic breakdowns. Newsweek says that the US has significantly increased its military presence in both the Gulf and Indian Ocean, deploying B-2 stealth bombers, cargo planes, and aerial refueling tankers, alongside key assets like the USS Carl Vinson and USS Harry S. Truman aircraft carriers. These moves signal heightened US preparations. In response, Iran has bolstered its military capabilities, positioning advanced air defense systems around the Strait of Hormuz while ramping up military activities in the region. The US and Israel have both escalated their military operations in the region. In Gaza, Israel's ongoing airstrikes on Hamas targets have drawn broader regional involvement, with Iran's support for militant groups adding a layer of complexity to the conflict. Iran's support for various proxies in the Middle East, including Hamas, Hezbollah, and militia groups in Iraq and Syria, has been a consistent point of contention. The US has recently stepped up attacks on the Yemen-based Houthis, which are backed by Iran. Economic sanctions have played a pivotal role in the US-Iran standoff. Following Trump's withdrawal from the JCPOA, the US imposed stringent sanctions on Iran's oil exports, banking system, and military industry, aiming to cripple its economy and force Iran to comply with nuclear restrictions. These sanctions have led to a severe economic downturn in Iran, but they have failed to bring Tehran to the negotiating table. Both the US and Iran have engaged in significant military posturing. The US has conducted multiple B-52 bomber flyovers near Iran as a show of strength and to signal potential military action. Additionally, US forces have joined with Israel in large-scale drills involving strategic bombers and fighter jets. On the other side, Iran has conducted joint naval exercises with Russia and China in the Gulf, further bolstering its military capabilities. Iran has also showcased its missile strength by unveiling missile cities, which house its growing arsenal of long-range missiles, and conducting missile tests. These military displays serve as a warning to the US and its allies. Diplomatic relations between the US and Iran have deteriorated since the US pulled out of the nuclear deal in 2018. Despite some attempts at renegotiation, Tehran has rejected US demands and has increasingly turned to Moscow and Beijing for support. Recently, President Trump revealed that he had sent a letter to Tehran, demanding a new nuclear agreement within 2 months, or face significant military consequences. With negotiations stalled and the deadline looming, the diplomatic window for de-escalation is quickly closing, leaving military action as an increasingly likely outcome. As military forces build up on both sides and sanctions continue to bite, the risk of direct military confrontation between the US and Iran grows. Trump has put a knife to Ayatollah Khamenei's throat. A large-scale group of B-2 Spirit stealth bombers, which only the US has and which are called doomsday weapons, are heading towards the island of Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean, within reach of Iran and Yemen. The bombers were spotted en route to the island. Satellite images show that at least 3 C-17 transport planes and 10 refueling planes have been deployed over the past 48 hours on the strategic British territory, which has repeatedly served as a springboard for US attacks in the Middle East in the past, due to its proximity to Iran and Yemen. In addition, the crews of 2 B-2 bombers with call signs Pitch 11 and Pitch 14 were heard on publicly available audio recordings talking to air traffic controllers in Australia. The crew of Pitch 11 also confirms the presence of a third bomber. Apparently, the trio were all refueling in the air over Australia, heading west.
North Korea sent around 3,000 additional troops to Russia in January and February in continued support for Russian President Vladimir Putin's war on Ukraine, South Korea's military said Thursday in its latest assessment. According to Associated Press, the South's Joint Chiefs of Staff said North Korea has also been sending more missiles, artillery equipment and ammunition to help Russia, and that North Korea could increase its weapons supplies further depending on the war situation. Russia and Ukraine recently agreed on a limited ceasefire, though both sides have accused each other of violations. The military equipment North Korea has sent to Russia includes a considerable amount of short-range ballistic missiles, 170mm self-propelled howitzers and around 220 units of 240mm multiple rocket launchers. North Korea has sent approximately 11,000 military personnel to fight in the war against Ukraine in its first involvement in a large-scale conflict since the 1950-53 Korean War, and the Joint Chiefs assessed that around 4,000 of them have been killed or wounded. South Korea's National Intelligence Service previously attributed the high North Korean casualties to the troops' likely struggles in adapting to drones and other elements of modern warfare. North Korean troops are further disadvantaged by the crude tactics of their Russian commanders, who have sent them into assault campaigns without providing rear-fire support, the spy agency told lawmakers in January.